Today I want to pick up the first of four important questions. I suppose I should back up and say happy Monday to those of you who are just starting with these devotions because you were at church yesterday, which was Easter, and you signed up, and so this is all new to you. These devotions sort of live on, so perhaps it's not Monday where you are, but if you were at the Easter service or you watched it online or for whatever reason you're new to these, I want to welcome you. And this week I want to answer the first four of a whole bunch of basic questions. So you should understand that when it comes to most disciplines, like reading, you learn basic truths first, the ABCs, and then you learn to read, Go Dog Go, before you move to Shakespeare. Or you learn that 1 + 1 = 2 before you try and do basic math, before you try and do differential equations. So most fields, the introductory truths, the starting points are simple. When it comes to Christianity, that's not entirely true. So some of the first things we have to entertain: who is God? What's going on? What really matters? These are really big foundational sort of worldview issues. And so they're truths. These four questions send us down four different paths than if we asked them. So we have been in a study, sort of an ongoing study of the Gospel of John. This has corresponded with the sermon series that we've been going through called The Life, which is based in part on John 10:10, where Jesus says, "I have come that you might have life and that you might have it abundantly." We've been trying to ask and then answer the question, what is this abundant life? Well, we're backing up before that here for these first four questions. And the first question is, who is Jesus? So Jesus says, "I've come that you might have life and might have it abundantly." So why do we care what you think? And who are you and why did you come and all of that? So I want to come at this and say, look, there's a variety of ways to answer the question, who is Jesus? So I wrote this book 10 years ago or so. If you don't have it, we give it away free. Glad for you to write to us and let us know. And in particular, we'll get the first chapter, because in the first chapter, I look at a lot of different ways that you could answer the question, who is Jesus? But today, I want to answer it by looking at what John says at the very beginning of his gospel. So the gospels were written to different people. Matthew wrote to the Jews. Mark wrote, we think, to the Romans. Luke wrote to more Gentiles. John writes to the Greeks, and in particular to the Greek philosophers. And that informs this very important magisterial opening. In the beginning was the Word. Word is logos. And this is Jesus. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and the life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. So, one of the ways to answer this question, who is Jesus, is to say he is the Logos. He is God. He is the creator of everything everywhere. And this logos, from which we get, I think you can hear, we get the English word eventually, logic. And the Greek philosophers had been looking for some understanding of the logic or of the purpose, the order of humans. I have right here an iPhone, and if you pick up an iPhone, the design of the iPhone eventually leads you to understand what it's for. It's a phone, and it's got, timers and calendars, and it's got access to the internet, and you can figure out what it's for based on what it does. So the Greeks looked at everything and tried to figure out its ultimate purpose and design. They couldn't do that with humans. And they'd largely given up on trying, and philosophy was sort of a failed project at this point, when John writes and he says, the missing piece for you to understand what life is about, who you are, what matters, what's expected of you, the missing piece is Jesus. In the beginning was Jesus, the Logos, the Word. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. And then it goes on to say that he created everything. So, look, There's a lot of other things that we could say about Jesus, and after these first 4 questions, next week we're going to start with an extended study of the book of Hebrews, which is a focus on Jesus and how he's so much better than any other option that we have. But I just want to end with this and say, so this is a point C.S. Lewis makes, and he says, like, you could have Buddhism without Buddha, and you could have Islam without Muhammad, and you could have Confucianism without Confucius, and you could have Judaism without Moses. I mean, you could have most religious systems without their founder or their major prophet. You cannot do that with Christianity, because Jesus is not pointing to truth like everybody else was. They were pointing to a path. They were pointing to a set of moral principles. They were pointing to divine teaching. Jesus points to himself because he is the linchpin of everything. Who is Jesus? Again, if you don't have this book, it might look different. There's several editions, but if you don't have the book that I wrote called The Life of Jesus Christ, the first chapter goes into this in more detail. We'd love to get you a copy of that book, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow when we take on the question, why did Jesus have to die?